Aston, if you could just give us a reflection of Ballymena, are you relieved that we didn't see scenes last night, it would appear, that we'd seen previously?
Yeah, there's been large calls from the community and political leadership in the Ballymena area for an end to the violence. The violence has always been wrong. Racism is wrong. And what we have seen over our streets over the last number of days has been wrong and deplorable. But listen, this rightly started in Ballymena, essentially that there was a town come together to stand with a family, a young girl of 14 that was subject to a vicious sexual assault on Saturday night in the town. The peaceful protest on Monday night that flowed from that was an opportunity for the town to come out in numbers, and there's 1,500, 2,000 people there. Peaceful protest, but sadly that has all been marred and obscured.
Yeah, because that's my next point. After following those allegations in place, that now there is a situation. Do you feel the same way as Doug Beattie feels there, where there are people effectively have hijacked something to turn it into something else?
Yes, Monday night was hijacked. There's no doubt about that. It was quite clear that once the protest had finished and come to a conclusion and back into Horrible, that then there was an intent from a small number of people, a number of them not from within the town centre, who were intent on causing damage and destruction. That was wrong, and that took away from the purpose of the peaceful protest that was there on Monday night, and the violence that has flown from that. But listen, people, this was always going to happen. Violence was wrong, yes, but this was always going to happen simply because people's concerns have not been listened to over this last number of years. It was always going to manifest.
It's always going to happen, but surely people's concerns are one thing. But what does any of this have to do with concerns? We've seen hatchets thrown, beer kegs thrown, people putting flags representing their nationalities on doors.
All wrong. No problem calling that out. All of that is wrong, absolutely. But there's an undercurrent here within the community where the community feels as if it hasn't been listened to. That has been allowed to fester, and sadly it has manifested itself in some of the scenes that we've seen over the last number of days. And that's disappointing. Like, I have sat in Stormont. We talked about the race riots. My first plenary in Stormont was the recall last year, where we were talking about the disorder in Belfast. And I raised the concerns of the community then. They were downplayed, they were ridiculed. We have a political class that's sitting in the chamber that laugh and sneer when anybody dares mention.
Well, do you know what? We have two of that political class on alongside you.
And you have one of the people on the programme. You have one of the people on the programme that certainly has a cheerleader and laughs and raises concerns.
Well, who are you talking about there? Are you talking about Owen Tennyson?
Absolutely, in the Lions Party. The Lions Party and the SDLP.
Okay, let
raised by members.
Quite happy having the conversation, but let's have Owen Tennyson respond to that.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to respond. And I think what we've just heard from Timothy is part of the problem. I mean, you can't on one hand condemn what has happened and then shrug your shoulders and say, but it was inevitable. You cannot contextualise or explain away or excuse what has been wanton, racist violence. And I think
I haven't done any of that one.
Essential that we call that out without equivocation. I mean, you cannot claim that these violent protesters are concerned about violence against women and girls when they have attacked women and girls in their homes. You cannot claim that they are concerned about housing when they are burning down homes. You cannot say that they are concerned about pressure on public services when they are destroying a leisure centre. So let's be honest about this. The people who have engaged in violence are racist thugs. No ifs, no buts. And I think it's time that we start to see leadership from all political parties in calling that out, rather than trying to conflate what are two very distinct and separate issues. I think part of the problem is that for months in the Assembly, politicians like Timothy and others from the TUV and DUP have fanned the flames of division. Every problem that has been created by a politician in Northern Ireland has been blamed on migrants.
I'm keen to let Timothy.
We need migrants to work in our health service.
I'm keen to let Timothy come back to you if you just give us 2 minutes.
So many other elements of our public services, it needs to be called out and nipped in the bud.
Owen Tennyson, I just want to give Timothy 2 seconds, just a moment. But first, I just want to get Doug Beattie's thoughts on what he's hearing, and then I'll bring you back in, Timothy, to get a response to some of what Ballymena over the coming days, what the mood and atmosphere is like in there, considering the past few days we've had.
Yeah, look, I'm very clear. All violence is wrong. All racism is wrong. The people that come out, and this is where the conversations get lost here in all of this, and this is why the riot is particularly wrong, because it's obscuring. There's been hundreds, there's been thousands of people that has taken to our streets over the last number of nights, peaceful demonstrators to raise concerns. Their voices aren't being listened to. Their voices haven't been listened to. This is what has allowed this to fester.
When you say allowed to fester, that is the but-if quality about this, though, isn't it? That is the dangerous speak which Owen Tennyson is talking about. Is there a concern about the danger that having this kind of rhetoric surrounding it does raise tensions and does lead to the potential of more trouble?
Well, Chris, what has caused this? Well, where do we have these conversations? I've raised this in the chamber, and that's what I've talked about, creating a space where there's none of this. You're far right, you're a thug, you're a racist, whatever. Well, when are we going to have this adult conversation to address the concerns that's out there? That's what I'll,
let's ask
in that local area.
Final quick word to you, Timothy Gaston, because the clock has started to get away from us. Final word to you.
So we need to be clear when we're talking about this, because there's a lot of people come to Ballymena from foreign countries to work and are vital to be part of the economy. One of the big things here we need to talk about is the undocumented illegal immigration, and that's where the focus essentially needs to be. And that's where the frustration of a lot of people that live in Ballymena is focused on. Owen has outlined a number of issues and concerns that he sees. Absolutely, I agree with them. But I've never heard him bring them to the chamber to say, these are the concerns that I see within immigration. It's always burying the head in the sand, nothing to do with us, and all is rosy. They said about leadership. Leadership is also about what you see. I'm born and bred in Ballymena. I work in Ballymena. My office is in Ballymena and Harryville. I'm just up the road from Clonovan. So it would be a failing of me for the people of Northampton if I didn't stick up for the 2,000 people that were in that car park on Monday night. No interest. They didn't want any violence. They were there to peacefully exercise. They were there to peacefully exercise.
You're very close to the areas you've alluded to, Timothy Gaston. Have you spoken to any of those people who've been put out of their homes yet? Have you had a chance to speak to any of them?
On Monday night, I was in Clonovan until 1:30 in the morning.
Uh-huh.
I was dealing with Polish families. I was dealing with Slovakian families. I was dealing with different families that were needing assistance on the night. There's different nationalities come into my office, and I have no problem helping anybody that comes through my door, because that's what I'm there to do.
Okay.
So I'm on the ground, I'm helping where I can. I try to prevent the outpouring, the vandalism, the destruction of Monday night. The people that are involved in this won't listen to anybody. So, but there needs to be, it's quite clear, the outpouring.
Okay. We gotta
Violence is wrong,
racism
is wrong, but we cannot ignore the vast amount of people that's coming out onto our streets and peacefully protesting.
We got to leave it there. Thank you very much for your time, Timothy Gaston, the TV. Thank you, Brother Owen Tennyson, the Irons Party.
Join TUV today.